Welcome to another Building Forensics Mastermind webinar. Every month I show a certain number of jobs from my past month of using advanced testing so that I can solve problems for actual homeowners and building owners and architects and all kinds of people. Basically, you can find out anything in construction. So that's what we talk about during these webinars. This is going to be half an hour tops. I will answer questions at the end. So as you have questions, go ahead and type them into the questions pane of your webinar thing over there on the side. And in the meantime, I'm just going to blast through this. So this month, we're talking about all the stuff that you can do in just preparing for doing a diagnostic that will tell you all kinds of information. In this case, all kinds of stuff comes out before we even run the test. It's kind of amazing. So first of all, this picture wins from the past month. This HVAC system was installed in a brand new house that had, swear to God, about 26 bedrooms. It was kind of incredible, and there were 5 systems that were this complicated. So this picture makes me feel like I want to go to the bathroom. And it may do to you too if you realize that we want to be able to control and simplify and make all this stuff doable and testable and measurable. This is going to be impossible to do. So I didn't have to do that, so that was good. But so that you know, there's always free videos. There are free radio episodes of the Building Performance podcast. You can read all of my book on the internet at homeperformancebook.com or also on buildingperformanceworkshop.com. So there is no excuse for not knowing how to do performance testing, period. Not only can you get the book in a hard copy and carry it with you into buildings for $99, but you can read all of it online. So that's why I wrote it, is so that no one would have any excuse to say, we can't do that. Yes, you can. So that's always what I'm trying to get people to do. The more and more testing we can do, the more we'll have control over what's going on in construction and in how much money we're wasting on home improvements that don't work and on new buildings that have problems and all that stuff. So I'll talk about the mastery piece at the very end, but that's coming up on Labor Day. We start Fall Fast Track. So again, I'll talk about that at the end. Now this month I had 2 clients, both of whom had comfort issues and wanted just general guidance prioritizing their improvements. And that's always a big thing for people. They don't necessarily always want energy efficiency. They don't necessarily always want sustainability or even want new windows. What they want is help just putting the pieces together in their head so that they can go, okay, here's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Those are the things that I'm going to do in the next 5 to 10 years to this house. Both of these homeowners imagined that they would need new windows. They knew that that was going to be on my list. In both cases, it was dead wrong. So on the left, we've got an older house, 1800s, that has been renovated a few times. On the right, we've got another frame house. This one a little bit younger, 1930s probably was original, and then went through a couple of renovations. Renovations always are a clue that we're going to find some interesting stuff in here. So before we even move on through into the diagnostics, we're doing the inspection, and I go around the house with my client, and we open up all of the doors. I go into closets, and here's what I say. Here's what my client says when I open up a closet door. They're going to say to you, oh, that's a closet. And that's okay. They always say that, even like 5 or 6 times in any one house. So I open up all the doors because you will eventually find something like this over here on the left. We've got a hatchway in the back of this closet. And my question then is, oh, what's that? And they say, oh, actually, you know what? That reminds me. That leads to this little space back there. And I don't know what it does. So, of course, we can now, first of all, know for a fact that we're on the first floor, which is sandwiched between the basement and the second floor. And also, this closet is in the dead center of this house. So what should be going on behind there is nothing funny, no funny business. However, when we actually do run a diagnostic and I point my infrared camera at it, I can see that the outside air that's 85 degrees is somehow getting into the middle of my house. And that's not okay. So we're going to definitely want to know about all this stuff. Now in this picture you can see over on the left what is behind that hatchway. There's this mystery cavity that carries these air conditioning ducts that are from a space pack system or a high velocity air conditioner. It's basically what you retrofit into a house that has a boiler system. And the way that they do this is they run all these flexible ducts all over the house by punching holes in the most important part of the enclosure, which is the top. So once they've punched all these holes, then the house has tons of need for air conditioning, And now we have an air conditioner that can do the job. Kind of amazing that this is actually going on in the 21st century. So you can prove that this is actually a problem, and we know that we're going to want to get in there. In the middle, you can see the tiny little space that I crawled into. It's a little crawl space that's accessible from inside. And when I get in there, all the walls are covered with bat insulation. I pull down the bat insulation and I see a vent to outside. So clearly this space is also confused. And on the right, the attic. That plumbing stack, which carries, it's just basically an open gas vent type thing for the sewer so that when you flush your toilet, your neighbor's toilet doesn't explode. That thing is surrounded by spider webs. Spiders like to spin their webs where air is passing by. So regardless of the fact that I already know for a fact this is going to be an air leakage pathway, the spiders are now running a diagnostic for me. So kind of amazing. And at the bottom you can see the percentage of zonal pressure proportions. These are the proportions of connectedness to outdoors. 36% in this cavity in the dead middle of the house, we want that to be 0%. Likewise, in the middle, we want this to be either 0% or 100%, and obviously it's a lot closer to 0. And on the right, the attic, 88% should be 100. It shouldn't be that. Now, if you need clarification on how to run zonal pressure testing and also why I talk about percentages and my defense of the percentage metric, which now we're calling, because of my buddy Kernhoff in the Netherlands, zonal pressure proportions, or ZPP. We came up with a brand new mathematical unit for that. You need to watch this video. So this is youtube.com/c/homeperformance. That's my YouTube channel, and you need to do that. If you're running blower door tests and you do not do zonal pressure test, you are wasting a huge opportunity. So get out there and learn how to do this and start doing it right now, because you are going to be amazed at what you find. Now, the slightly younger house, you can see as soon as we step inside, before we run any diagnostics, that we have all kinds of ceiling height changes. And if you need a review on what this means, watch my video on ceiling height changes. If you just search that in YouTube, you will come up with my video. It shows basically what's going on here. But all of these things are little vulnerabilities in the enclosure, and that means that we've got this little underground network of all of these cavities that are breathing to each other. So it's basically tunnels that are leading everywhere inside your house that you can't see. And these things are contributing a lot to all the problems that we're having. Most people think doors and windows when they think air leakage, because that's what they can see. But really, the main culprit is behind the drywall. So if this is the one thing that you explain to your clients out there, and if you're a homeowner, if this is the one thing you take away from this webinar, then this has been a success. So, do we need new windows? No, we don't need new windows. What we need is to insulate where insulation was supposed to have gone. I can tell, because proof is possible once you start using performance testing in any home. I can tell with this proof that the person who renovated this house did not know what they were doing. Maybe they're good at framing up a house or whatever, in which case they should just stick with what they know. This person or this team of people had no idea how to build a house that was actually functional. And if you're a homeowner, listen to my voice, please take that to heart and remember that just because somebody does something all day long doesn't mean they know how to do it the right way, right? So in all of these cases, these are ceiling cavities that we assume should be insulated, because why would they not be? Why they would not be is because, oops, we forgot. And then, oh, the drywaller arrived, and he just put up the drywall, and yeah, it was too late, whatever. We might not even have realized there wasn't insulation in these places. This is ridiculous. There is no excuse for any of the things I found in this house as far as the insulation goes. And I find this kind of stuff all the time. This is the reason you're uncomfortable. Not because you need a new air conditioner, not because you need new windows. It's this stuff. So this is how you show normal people what is wrong with their house. The infrared camera is a very useful tool for that, because it's colorful, it tells the story, it's great. You don't need an infrared camera to be able to do this. And by the way, this is on an 85-degree day, not a 100-degree day. You could do this exact same analysis on a 70-degree day, and it would be fine, because remember, the roof is black. So these people do not need new windows. What they actually need is to be able to define the enclosure much better. So we need insulation and air sealing to be in the right place and to be in the right amounts. And that's all. And that's a lot less than $30,000 of new windows. So great news for my clients. They were delighted. By the way, these models, these 3D models that I build, I do this while I'm on site with the clients. It takes me a half an hour tops to do. You need to take accurate measurements, which we would do anyway, of course, because we want to know how big the house is for our blower door test. But it's not hard to build this stuff. This is using a free version of Google SketchUp, and I have a half an hour demonstration on how to use this, and it kind of teaches you all the little tips and tricks that you'll need just to be able to build something like this. So this kind of thing is really great for being able to visualize what is going on behind walls. So I highly recommend using this with normal people. So the second job that I'm going to describe, aside from the single-family homes, is this big multifamily building where I am the commissioning authority, which means I walk around with my clipboard and my laptop and my hard hat and my safety goggles, and you may see a video like that floating out there. I've been doing a lot of stuff on this site, and it's really interesting to see because you'd think that the bigger the project, the more money, millions and millions of dollars, more and more people who are specialists in their field, there would be less problems. The opposite is true. More problems. So really important to commission, and my main job is just to double check everything. So here's this kitchen. We've got an exhaust hood over the stove, and that metal filter there, which is called a grease trap, is going to catch the grease before it goes into the fan. You'll wash that out sometimes. And by the way, this thing is vented to outside because there is no reason that this should not be vented to outside. Zero. So if you're a builder of multifamily buildings and you do not install exterior exhausted kitchen hoods, you need to start doing that right now, because literally it's ridiculous not to do this. You're essentially poisoning the interior air, because cooking odors, carbon monoxide, moisture, none of that stuff is good, and it's all just going to go through this and get dumped inside of it. You've got a recirculating model. Recirculating, by the way, for normal people who are listening to this, is the kind where you turn it on and it blows on your forehead. So we spend a lot of time and money and effort building this sealed duct that would take the air from here to outside, and it's perfect and beautiful. Now, when I take this little filter off so that I can test the fan, I notice that it's warped. That means that if you actually were to try to turn this on when that thing is installed backwards, and who knows which is the front and which is the back, then the fan wouldn't work at all, because that silver, when I first turned it on, was actually pressing against the fan, and it was keeping the fan from working. So you would think the fan is broken, when in fact it's just that this silly metal grate that's a filter is pressing up against the thing. So while I'm getting ready to do this test, I've got my anemometer out and I'm about to test the flow. I feel something blowing on my forehead. What could that possibly be? We've spent all this money and time and effort trying to get this thing exhausted outside. So I pull out my flashlight and I look into this little grate on the front there, and I can clearly see through that grate the fan. If I can see the fan is most definitely going to be blowing in my face when it turns on. So I pull out my phone, my tiny computer, which is in my pocket all the time, and I look up the instruction manual on this piece of equipment. And that vent cover that you're seeing right there should have come with this. So obviously it got left in the box or whatever, and of course everybody's going to argue, no, there was nothing in the box. Okay, fine, that's fine. We just need to order 82 of these things. So let's order 82 of them. They come in the box. The general contractor takes out the box, opens it up, and of course out comes the vent cover, which is good, and also a backdraft damper, which is essentially a flap that's designed to keep air from coming back down this hood from outside and coming out into my kitchen area. That's terrible news, because what that means is that there is no backdraft damper installed yet. So what we had to do in this case is, this building is almost finished. We had to uninstall all of the kitchen exhaust hoods to install this backdraft damper, because there is no way that that is not going to get installed. That would be disastrous for the performance of this place. We'd have condensation issues, all kinds of comfort issues in the kitchen. We would have mold forming. It would just be awful. So we need to uninstall all of these, reinstall with the backdraft damper. That means that they're going to be slightly lower. We got to cut all the caulk away and blah, blah, blah. So it was a big, nasty thing that happened, and that was before any actual diagnostics happened. This is the amount of not checking on things that people are generally used to, and it's because homeowners, I hope you're listening to my voice, we have trained the building industry to work as fast as possible for as cheap as possible. So it is our fault, America, that the buildings are acting this way, because we have trained contractors to be rushed and underpaid, and that is not okay. If you want something done the right way, you have to pay for it, and you have to do it the right amount of time. So we can all do better on this, everyone included. Now, when we test the fresh air intake system, because of course we've got these bath fans and kitchen exhaust fans that are taking air out, we want to balance the pressure inside the unit so we're bringing air in at the same time. And that's what this duct in the far right here that is running straight down alongside my furnace and then goes in at the bottom. It's wrapped in insulation because it's going to be bringing in potentially freezing cold air. In Chicago, we've got potentially negative 20-degree air that's going to be coming in through that baby. So we don't want it all dripping wet on the outside. That would be disgusting. So what we do is wrap it in insulation. But I have to test this thing and get it set to the right amount because there's a damper, essentially another flap inside of this, that's manually set so that we bring in just the right amount of air. We don't want too much, we don't want too little, we want the right amount of fresh air without giving an energy penalty. So this is a handle that someone very nicely has shown to me by poking it out through the insulation. I love that. However, not all of these have handles in the first place, and not all of them are sticking out already, so I have to go in there and find it. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, molest this duct. I feel it up, and I could spend potentially 5 minutes feeling up this duct. I feel like a total perv while I'm doing this. Hopefully nobody's watching me, but I need to find out where exactly in here the person who installed this damper put it, because the guy who installed it does not understand why he is installing it. He doesn't understand that somebody else is going to come along and have to find this thing and have to set it to the right amount. All of this is fixable if we talk more to each other and we ask the right questions and we ask what we think are dumb questions. It's all worthwhile. So ask the dumb questions. Everybody's an idiot. I'm raising my hand right now. I'm an idiot. So once I've molested this thing and I find this handle, now I can manipulate the handle. That's straight up and down. That means that the damper is wide open. This is side to side. That means that the damper is totally closed. I'm going to have to find the happy medium in there by measuring it. So now I get out my knife, cut into the insulation, expose a little piece of the actual metal duct. I'm going to drill into this thing with a unibit so that I make a 1-inch hole. And then I'm going to insert my mini vane anemometer. And I'm going to do a dead center reading and use a 90% of that reading. So what I'm doing is taking this number at the bottom, which is the CFM, which is a feet per minute times the cross-sectional area of duct. And this duct happens to be round. It is 28.3 square inches when I use my little circle area calculator. So 33.9 times 90% is about 30 CFM is what I'm moving through there. So that's awesome. That's what I want. Now I have to seal up the holes. So I have to take 2 pieces of tape. Little one, big one. Little one, I put right over the actual hole in the duct, inside there. Now I can basically smooth out all the insulation so that it's nice and even and cover up the slit that I made in the insulation with that long piece of tape. And now it looks good as new. By the way, if you want to know if your piece of equipment has been tested, you look for test ports like this. If there are no test ports, there was no testing, period. No matter what anybody says, oh, I installed great equipment. No test ports, they didn't test it. There's no possible way they could possibly know that. So the last thing that I want to mention about this site is that this building is going to be for a retirement village. So it is for people who are older, who are going to have potentially hearing loss. One of the things that you should know about exhaust fans nowadays is that they don't make noise. I hate it when people call them fart fans. That's not what they're for. They're for exhausting moist air. So moisture exhaust is what they're actually for. That means they go over the shower, not the toilet. If you can position the toilet so that it's between the door and the shower, that means that you will both get rid of odors and the shower humidity at the same time, and that's the best case. So what we have here is an exhaust fan that you cannot hear in any case, whether the fan is on or off, or it's running in low or high speed. And we have 2 switches. This is very confusing. In the first place, remember, these people are going to be a little older. They might be a little bit more cranky. They might be a little less patient and not in the know about how all this technology works. So we want to make it very easy for them. The first switch obviously works the light. You can tell when you touch it. The light turns on, light turns off. Middle one happens to be the on-off master switch. We need to fix that thing in place with a piece of plastic. That costs 50 cents. But we need to actually place the order for 82 of these little pieces of plastic with extra long screws so that we can put this thing in so that we can make sure that that middle switch never gets turned off unless we specifically want to clean the fan or turn it off for some other reason. The last switch should be labeled exhaust fan, because remember, you can't hear it when it's on high speed or on low speed. So unless we actually tell them this is what this does, they're going to think, oh, this doesn't do anything. It's for nothing. So we want to make sure that that also gets used. Now when it's on off position, it's actually running on low speed, and we have tested that. So I literally tested 82 exhaust fans to make sure they run at 30 and at 70 CFM. Bam. All right. Now if you saw this video, then I hope that you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed making it. It is the coolest infrared video ever made in the history of the universe. And if you Google that exact phrase, this is the video that will come up. So if you haven't seen this, go look at it right now, because this house was amazing. The client who I worked for there was super nice. She hired me even though she didn't necessarily have the money set aside to hire somebody who's as, high quality, and I am definitely not the cheapest person out there. I am expensive. So this person really wanted this, and she was right to want it because her house was crazy. So we fixed it this month. It was awesome. Blower door came down 25%. That is excellent, and it's even better than it sounds because of what I'm going to explain in just a minute. And the side and the top attics, which were both the areas that we wanted to concentrate on, here's her little 3D model, were very easy to work inside. The contractor that I referred her to, which by the way, I don't take commissions on these jobs. I don't take referral fees. I use the diagnostics to make sure that my contractors do the right thing. And if they don't do the right thing and they don't ask for help on it, they're off my list. That's the way that it works. So this contractor, who's fantastic, was nervous about the amount of room that would be back there to be able to work in. He said, there's only going to be 16 inches. We won't be able to do anything. And I said, okay, that's fine. Here is the hole that they cut in the side attic and in the top attic. I prepared my client. I did my job, and I prepared my client to have all of the knee wall drywall removed. That means over here in this area, we were going to take out literally from here all the way down to the floor and remove all of this for the entire length of the house. So she was prepared to pay someone to replace all of that. So when my contractor came along and said, oh, great, there's lots of room back there. We need to cut another hole over here. Is that okay? She's like, fine with me. I was expecting to replace all of it. So that is the kind of stuff that you want to do. You want to under-promise, over-deliver. Always, always easy to do when you are using performance testing. So here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looked like after. Does it need to be pretty? No, it does not. It's an attic. But it does need to work. And the only way to prove that this works is by, number one, the blower door test is good, yes, but also zonal pressure testing. And again, if you are not doing this and you run a blower door test on a regular basis, you're totally wasting your time. You need to be doing zonal pressure testing. So here's what we showed, that the top attic was connected to outside by 80%, but we want that to be 100%. The master bedroom was connected to outside by 20%. That's way too much. We want all of the other numbers to be 0% and the attic to be 100%. Here's where we got to after the work was done. The top attic went up by 16%. That's awesome. By the way, all of these, remember, are in my percentage way of describing this, which is on YouTube. Watch that video. It explains exactly why all this stuff works the way that it does. So all these numbers are fantastic, and these are the numbers that you show to your other clients that haven't hired you yet. When they say, why are you more expensive than company X, Y, or Z? The answer is because I can guarantee you that I can do the job that you want me to do. And I will prove to you that you got what you paid for. Once anyone in your market can explain that to normal people, they get all of the jobs that are worth getting. The cheapskates will still hire everybody who can just do it the cheap way. And by the way, if you've ever worked with a cheapskate, they are not fun to work with. Nobody wants to work with those people. So let the people who insist on doing it the old-fashioned way keep working with the cheapskates. You can get the clients that you want, and they can get you when we all are agreeing on what exactly is going on in a house. And that is what this test is all about. So I mentioned a second ago that the blower door test is going to underestimate how good this is actually going to be. That's because it's when we depressurize a house, we blow air out through the blower door, we're getting 100% of the leakage in the house is infiltration. In real life, half of the leakage in a house, because of stack effect, is going to be exfiltration, stack effect, excuse me, and HVAC and wind, etc. Half of it's going to be exfiltration, and half of it will be infiltration. That means half is going out, half is coming in to replace what just went out. Remember, if we stop what's going out, none comes in. So when people say they feel a draft, it's because air left the house somewhere else. That's the whole reason why that happens. So don't solve the problem where the draft is coming in, because that doesn't actually fix it. What we can do is fix where the air is going out, which is at the top. And if we have reduced the one breath of air out, we have also reduced one breath of air. That means we get a 2 CFM reduction for every 1 CFM on the blower door. That means potentially, when I say theoretically, I've reduced the air leakage in the house by 25%. Magically, I'm a wizard. I actually did 50%. Bam! And I don't charge my client for that. I delivered 25% for free. I gave you 2 for 1. Homeowner, that's how good I am, right? Now you have under-promised, over-delivered. You are the master. If you want to learn to become the master in your local market, then you need to spend 6 weeks with me talking about this stuff. And then we need to have you come back the year after. All the people who did this in 2014 are coming back to participate again in 2015. This is your chance to work from home, incorporating all of the concepts and the techniques and the tools that we talk about in the Fall Fast Track in your actual work with actual clients during your daily job. So this is not the kind of conference where you go off for 2 or 3 days, you learn a bunch of stuff, you fly home, and it all flows out of your head. This is where you actually are putting these things to work and then giving feedback to the group, getting your questions answered. We have office hours every week. There's people all over the country and in Canada as well that you are connecting with and making these bonds where we can all beat the standard that has been set by the construction industry, which is very, very low, the bar in general. So remember, this is limited to 100 people. Go ahead and register right now. It's free. Excuse me, not register, pre-register. Registration enrollment for Sirius starts on August 1st, and the class starts on Labor Day. So make sure that you can pre-register if you can. You get free bonuses, and there's no reason not to, basically. Also, I don't go to conferences as a rule because I don't like the way they treat their presenters. This is different. This is the Habitat X think tank. This is going to be much smaller than a conference, and everybody who goes to this is awesome at what they do. So this is where the mentors go to get mentored. I'm very excited about this. I'll be presenting. There's a whole bunch of other great people. In general, everybody who goes to this thing presents something. So if you want to take your practice to the next level, I hope that you'll come and hang out with this terrific group of people. It's in Montana. And by the way, you can get $375 off if you use that promo code there, Corbett375. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you tune in coming months. It's always first Wednesday of the month at 1 p.m. Central. I will take questions now.